Greetings everybody, this is Sabin Dimitrov, aka Adins for the Astral Wolf, and I wanted to put out some interesting ideas for character development of one of my characters. So, if you guys don't know this already, I have a series of characters with different storylines, and I've been working very hard on my Grinion timeline, and this is one of the Grinions that you see before you. Big old fluffy fella. So, this is actually a fun one. I was listening to some music, and, for me, music interacts with my brain in a different way, and imagination just flies off the shelves and goes to new heights, and, well, I was starting to think of a fun little Grinion fella that could be friends with my human. Usually, Grinions and humans do not get along one bit, but for some strange reason, in my timeline story that I make, it's kind of an alternate universe of Takashi's work, I guess, of the Grinions. It's kind of like an alternate universe, but pretty much in this one, my character becomes friends with some of the Grinions, and they actually want to hang out with my character. And a really fun idea I had when I was listening to a fun song was, imagine a kind of symbiotic Grinion that finds a host to become friends with. And, they can detach at any time, and they can, just hang out with their host. The problem with that symbiotic Grinion, who would look somewhat kind of like this, is that every time they graft, it's this is what the Grinions call it, or when the symbiotes form a bond with someone, they call it grafting. And when every time this Grinion grafts with someone, more and more of the body is taken over and becomes damaged, so to speak, or corrupted. And unfortunately, they can the more time that you spend grafted with a symbiote who gives you amazing abilities and capabilities, the more chance you have of dying and your body being absorbed. But because my human character has already gotten augments from the Grinster, which I'll show you in just a second. This fella right here. The Grinster is actually supposed to be absolutely massive. Like right here, where his face is, would be about 6 feet tall. Like the Grinster is supposed to be huge. So, standing fully erect, he'd be about 12 feet tall, 13 feet tall. Just this massive muscle and fur. Very huge fella. And all power. It's just pure, unadulterated, unrivaled power. But anyway, so my human character gains augments and enhancements from the Grinster, which he became dear good friends with. Because the Grinster is described as evil and wise. But my character in this story is wise and good. But the thing that bonds both the Grinster and Sabin together is what they have is wisdom. They both crave wisdom. And one of the things that is good to a fault about the Grinster is that he is honest. And he likes to find the truth. And one of the things that makes him such a terrifying enemy is that he can tell you the truth and there's nothing that you can do about it. And he can tell you exactly what he's going to do to you, and there's nothing that you can do to stop that. That's one of the terrifying things about the Grinster, is that he can think thousands of moves ahead of a person and play them directly into his clutches without even breaking a sweat. Because he's supposed to be almost as old as the world itself. He's supposed to be one of the first Grinions ever to exist. But as Worry made more and more Grinions, they became more and more corrupted and more uh, almost drone-ish. So the Grinster was able to have the top quality augments that made him the perfect Grinion. But then as time went on, as more Grinions got made, more of them got corrupted and less useful, and just were more in the sense of like a mindless grunt, or kind of something on the more meh level. But anyway, so gaining various augments from Worry and the Grinster, uh, uh, this made it so that way it made it a lot safer for Sabin's friend to graft with him. So I want to pause this and show you guys the next one. The augment has a longer body, kind of like what this fella is, which is supposed to be Worry's right hand, kind of overseer of the realm that Worry exists in. But what the symbiote Grinion has, is kind of this like almost weird wraparoundish skin slash fur slash body that can kind of open up and form around a person, much like Iron Man's older models of his armor. So technically, this symbiote can, form itself around a person or it's whatever it chose to graft with, and that is what allows it to literally burrow neurological tentacles and apparatuses or apparati into the person's body so they can work together and kind of work as two minds as one. So they're supposed to look kind of similar to what this fella looks like, but they have a more kind of streamlined look, kind of like this. But kind of a big old doofy face like this, but they have a longer muzzle. If I can show you guys on that one. Let me see. Pause it. Pause, darn you. Oh my gosh. So anyway, the Grinion is supposed to kind of have a face, not like this. This like kind of doofy, wider, kind of muzzled face, kind of a medium-ish length of a muzzle. They're supposed to have more very streamlined, supposed to have a streamlined exterior. So they're not kind of like, they kind of, it's not like exactly this, it's more like this. They look very much like Heckle. There we go, yeah. So it's pretty much a very kind of slenderish, kind of like almost walking exosuit of a Grinion. They look very similar to Heckle, who is clueless but terrifying. And Heckle, believe it or not, is friends with this kind of symbiotic grafting Grinion. And what happens is that with my character, because my character has gotten augments from Worry and the Grinster, this big fella right here, who's absolutely massive, just huge fella. This is when he's kind of rearing up to kind of size you up. Remember, he's like 2,000 pounds of just pure muscle, if not 3,000 pounds of pure muscle and fur. So yeah, you're gonna have no chance against him. But anyway, pretty much what the symbiote Grinion did with Sabin is that with the supernatural capabilities of the flying Grinion, is that it allows Sabin and him to fly at insane speeds. Like they can fly at excess of over 100 miles an hour easily. And their capabilities of being able to be propelled is still unable to be explained. This Grinion in particular is known as Fleetfoot. That's kind of one of his nicknames, or or kind of as a mockery. Some people would even call him Godspeed, but uh, up until then, his purpose was kind of less than noble. So only those who call him that would be doing that as a mockery. But when he became friends with my character, his purpose became a lot more noble because he became friends with someone who wouldn't die after grafting with them, and that kind of give this Grinion, the friend that they've always longed for. In my timeline, not all Grinions are mindless, evil drones of worry. In fact, there's a good chunk there's a series of them who are actually outward thinking and sentient and able to think on their own. And yeah, so the Fleetfoot, we're going to call him Fleetfoot until a name has actually been designated at them, is an incredibly intelligent and very fast thinking creature. And what they would do is that they would graft with Sabine, and unfortunately the grafting process is unimaginably painful. But the more times that you do the grafting process, the easier it is for Fleetfoot to graft with you, and then you and him gain each other's abilities, and that means you guys can work as one and be able to do amazing things: super strength, super speed, enhanced cognitive abilities, supernatural insight, being able to see way more than the average person, being able to fly at incredible speeds, maneuverability that surpasses that of a dragonfly. And in fact, the omnimorphic wings of Fleetfoot allows Sabine to visit his father in his office building. And at first, Sabine's father was very kind of shocked to see this almost kind of like this abomination wrapped around his son's body. But then my character, then Sabine kind of understands, it kind of helps his father understand what kind of cool abilities he can do. And that because of his augments, he is not in danger of dying. Now, mind you, the grafting process is still incredibly taxing and can still put Sabine in danger of damage, but Fleetfoot and him are working out techniques to kind of make it easier on each other, so that way Sabine is not, having to deal with so much trouble when grafting with Fleetfoot. And, Fleetfoot and Heckle are dearest of friends, and they look out for each other because a lot of the other Gradients try to pick on Heckle because they think she's kind of simple, kind of slow. And yes, Heckle is clueless a lot of the time, but she can think on her own. And, it just takes some time, but, she can be clever, and given the proper mental exercises, she can be quite an effective Grinion. But anyway, like I said, Fleetfoot is kind of a omnimorphic Grinion that kind of switch into any form he so wishes with the way that his body is. And what he likes to do is that these little legs will sprout on the sides of Sabine's body and Zephyr's body. Sorry, not Zephyr, Fleetfoot's body. And that will allow them to kind of scurry along buildings or even ceilings, kind of like a spider can. But kind of these like doofy little, short little, kind of poofy little leg things. Very adorable, by the way. I would totally play with those if I ever met Snickers. It'd be like big old doofy poof set moving forward. Kind of cute. Look. See? Look at those cute little feet. The big old doofy feet. But yeah, though. But yeah, so pretty much, and then what what Fleetfoot can do is that he can fly with either eagle's wings, or he can fly with dragonfly wings, or he can fly with any kind of flying apparatus he wants. And because he's omnimorphic, the possibilities that he is able to accomplish are unlimited. And he is one of the few Grinyons that is able to be used in any circumstance whatsoever. But because Sabine was able to form such a close and special bond with Fleetfoot, uh, that allowed him to get kind of to Fleetfoot's purpose before Worry got to, indoctrinate him in his evil and scary ways. Now, in this story, the Grinster finds Worry to be incredibly irresponsible, finds him to be very impulsive and not forward-thinking enough. The Grinster was kind of like Hitler in a way in the Grinion universe, very power-hungry, very grandiose, very big thing this, big thing that, powerful movement here, and just be as big and powerful and scary as possible. While the Grinster himself is very analytical, very surgical, and very exact with his movements, which is why the Grinster and Worry don't get along very well. And in fact, in this storyline, there is a rumor that the Grinster got so angry that he punched Worry with the force of a wrecking ball, snapping off part of one of his horns, and that is why Worry has that crescent moon look to his horns, because the Grinster snapped off one of the horns after being enraged. Then another rumor, a secondary rumor, goes around that God struck Worry with a bolt of lightning as a warning to stop doing what he's doing, and that shattered one of the horns. No one really exactly knows, but the rumor one is more the possibility of what happened with that one. And like it is, the Grinster and Sabine actually hit it off quite well. It was a slow process, but the Grinster actually enjoyed being around Sabine because he likes creativity. He likes people who like to think and, gain knowledge and, are creative and try to find new and creative ways to get things taken care of. And that's one of the things that makes a Grinster, very valuable to Worry, despite them not seeing eye to eye on a lot of things. So Worry tries to tiptoe around the Grinster and tries to, work around with him, despite them not exactly being eye to eye. And technically Worry's a boss, but he knows that without the Grinster, a lot of his ideas and ambitions won't work out. So that therefore forces Worry to kind of be put into his place a little more, despite still being the boss, because the Grinster is that valuable to him. Like, if Worry ever tried to get rid of the Grinster, that would pretty much be a death strike to his abilities and prowess, because the Grinster holds all that knowledge and wisdom and effectiveness and experience that makes the Grinions as effective as they are. Even though that four-armed Grinion is the overseer of the underworld, no other Grinion is wiser than the Grinster. And like it is in this storyline, for some unknown and crazy reason, probably supernatural intervention, they become friends. Sabine and the Grinster become friends. and therefore the evil portion of the Grinster starts to crack a little bit. The Grinster doesn't care about anyone else except Sabine, and he makes that very, very clear. So Sabine has to play things carefully and make sure that the Grinster doesn't get involved with anybody else, or else that other person will have the full fury of this giant beast of power on them. But yeah, so the flying Fleetfoot creature uh, also became friends with the Grinster via Sabine's influence. And so this is this wonderful little kind of little pack that they have formed: Snickers, Fleetfoot, Grinster, and Heckle. And there's little Fluffy Buddy. This little guy right here. This guy's about 5'8", 5'7", to the top of the head. The horns are not counted in the height. And this one is just a cuddle buddy, just kind of this lovable cuddle bug that just wants to give cuddles. And the thing that won this Grinion over from Sabine is that when this Grinion was trying to scare Sabine, Sabine just kind of thought this little fluffball was cute, and gave it a smooch on the nose. And the little Grinion didn't know exactly what to make of it, but it kind of liked the affection. So instead of trying to claw Sabine to pieces or bite him, this Grinion just kind of was curious and kind of just would sniff at him, while Sabine would pet them, and quite quickly actually the affection, which most Grinions don't get, won this one over. So I don't really have a name for this one. Just so you guys know, none of these are my characters. I don't have my own Grinion artwork yet, but I'm hoping to get some more pieces commissioned so I can show you guys what more of my characters look like. But yeah, so pretty much it's this little kind of pack that's formed around Sabine of little Grinions that kind of actually care about Sabine's well-being, despite what Worry would say otherwise. And in fact, I want to show you guys something interesting. The first time one of the first times that Sabine interacted with Worry's tail was that Worry likes to grab stuff with his tail, because his tail can become sharp like a claw, and that's kind of one of the things that he likes to do is have this giant claw tail that kind of looks menacing. But right here, as you guys can see, it's soft and fluffy and kind of warm. And the creativity of the innocence of Sabine in this storyline is he's just kind of this derpy person that's just kind of going around and exploring this little realm that he's in. And so pretty much what he does is that he finds Worry's tail just kind of flopped there as Worry's sleeping, and he goes and just starts playing around with it and wraps each little appendage around him kind of like a hug almost, just to see what it felt like. So one would be underneath him, kind of like a harness. Then there'd be two on each side of him. There'd be this one right here would be underneath him in between his legs to give him support, and then this one here would be on his left, and the other one would be on his right, and then there would be two more right here that would form on either of his shoulders, kind of giving him a nice secure harness of fluff and fur. And when Worry found out what Sabine was doing, usually what he would do is use that tail to crush other humans or his prey, but instead he finds above all a human playing around with it and having fun with it, and that actually kind of got his curiosity rolling. So Worry would just kind of just lay there and watch Sabine just play around with the tail, and once Sabine got bored, he'd just pop out of it and just kind of walk away and do his own little thing. that's one of the reasons why the Heckle and Sabin are so close, because they both kind of have the curious and simple mind, kind of very linear minded. Well, not exactly narrow minded in a bad way, but just kind of in the sense of it takes more brain power for them to focus on one thing. So they seem very narrow minded and oblivious, but they are actually thinking. And that's one of the things that kind of forms a very special bond between Heckle and Sabin, because they both like to be creative and try their best with like what little they have, and despite their setbacks, they do try and put their heart into the work. So yeah, that's just kind of a fun little thing that I figured that would tell you guys, that kind of popped up into my head. But yeah, so like Fleetfoot is kind of the interesting Grinion character I came up with, because I think that would be adorable to have this kind of like almost exosuit symbiotic Grinion that kind of forms around Sabin. Much like Venom, but less gross and slimy and bleh. So, in fact, the curiosity and creativity is kind of what, made Worry not want to immediately kill or try to assimilate Sabin, because Sabin was actually kind of curious, and despite hearing what little he heard about the Grinions as bad, Sabin still couldn't help but feel that some of them were actually okay to be around, if you can call it okay. Like it is, 99.9998% of the Gradients are still bad, and kind of, their entire purpose is to be perfectly obedient creatures to Warrior's whim. But still, the creativity and kind of the odd mindset of Sabin was kind of noticed by some of the more superior Gradients that still have sentience, and that's kind of what wins Sabin over to them. So this is kind of a fun little idea. Sabin in this timeline is kind of goofy, kind of a derp, but not in a bad derpy way, but kind of in a good kind of semi-clumsy, but kind of very lovable ADHD infused derp, who's curious and creative, and despite his disabilities, still gets to, still is quite intelligent, and still, works his best. And, those are qualities that a lot of the Grinions like, is because they like creativity, they like loyalty, they like hard working, and that's kind of what they want, is that they want, to work together for the common goal. But that kind of all gets a little bit upset when my character kind of comes into that, into the swing of things, and that kind of disrupts the entire thing that War is trying to do. And that's a good thing, though, because that means less people are being subjugated by this terrifying beast. So yeah, it's actually kind of a fun little thing. And like it is, remember, this is Little Grin. He's like, what, 3 feet? 3 feet tall? 2 feet tall? And this is Worry, who's absolutely massive. Huge fella. Big old set of chompers. One of the things that Sabin wanted to do to play like a little prank on his friend, the Grinster, is that he actually hid inside Worry's mouth and said, "Hey, Worry, how about you pretend that you have something stuck in your teeth, so you have the Grinster pull it out for you?" And it worked. The Grinster was like, "Yeesh," and you couldn't do yourself. But he, came to Worry's aid and was going to try to pluck out what was in between the Worry's teeth. And then Sabin goes "rah" when Worry opens up his mouth. And that actually startles and scares the Grinster. And the Grinster never gets scared or even startled. Like, he is the one who does the scary stuff, and he's like the most effective Grinion. So having a human actually surprise him and startle him with their own creativity, kind of gives the Grinster a small reality check of like, oh my gosh, there is more creativity out there. I don't have it all. I mean, overall, the Grinster would have it all, but like I said, the mindset of Sabin is something they haven't really run into before, and that's kind of what catches most of them off guard. So, so Worry is like laughing hysterically, thinking that is the funniest thing ever. That above all, a little human scares the most powerful Grinion, and Sabin just kind of rolls out of Grinster, rolls out of Warrior's mouth, and just kind of, sits there looking at the Grinster. The Grinster is noticeably angry because he does not like to be tricked with, but he knows that Sabin's intentions weren't bad; they were just to have fun. So he just kind of just stares at Sabin, chuckles a little bit, and says, "Okay, you got me." But then just kind of walks off, not wanting to, admit more that he was actually startled. He looks like a big old spider. I just noticed in this picture, he looks like a freaking spider. Rory's a real creepy dude. But yeah, so doing that trick there actually formed a little bit of a bond between Rory and Sabin. So they actually kind of had fun, and Sabin does like to joke around and play around, and he likes to spread laughter. Not the laughter that Worry and the Grinions like to spread around, but genuine joy, genuine happiness, genuine silly, and good laughter. And that is a quality that really kind of clings on to Worry, because he watches what Sabin does through his little spies that he has in the physical realm, and that kind of and sees that how much joy and laughter that Sabin spreads around. And like it is, it's not the crazy, insane, psychotic laughter that Worry and his Grinions do. It's a genuine joy and happiness and good laughter that you feel when someone tells you a silly joke or when someone's kind of being silly. And that's kind of what, really kind of, gravitates the other Grinions and Worry to Sabin. And that's kind of one of the things that really makes them care about him, because they do like laughter. As long as it's laughter, they do like it. But yeah, that the kind of the genuine joy that Sabin brings to those around him is really kind of resonates really well with Worry and the others. And big old creepy face, big old creepy mouth, big old lots of teeth, But yeah, so Sabin kind of obtains the rank of Omega in the grand scheme of things when it comes to Worry and his Grinions. And the Omega, or court jester, are actually very, very valued and extremely highly respected positions, because a court jester back in the medieval era would actually be a very well protected and revered position, because not only would you be able to make fun of the king without getting in trouble, but you could also tell jokes at the enemy and kind of heckle them. And that's one of the things that Sabin character is really good at, is telling jokes and kind of making sillies all the time, and kind of being the comedic release that people need to help them relieve themselves from stress. And that's kind of one of the things that really makes Sabin so valuable. And back in the medieval era, it was actually seen as a war crime between other kingdoms if you kill or try to attack, the court jester. And the court jester was, known for being witty, and they were paid very well. And same thing with the Omega Wolf in the Wolf Pack. They are kind of the ones that breaks up fights. They are the ones that kind of help watch over the pack. even though they eat last, they are still given some of the better pieces of meat. So very quickly, Sabin becomes kind of a valued, friend and kind of member of the small pack that he's friends with, and including the big boss Wari. And let's see, I had an art piece commissioned to kind of, human, Grinion character that kind of make. Let me check. This is kind of what I'm thinking that my human will eventually end up as. So pretty much what happens is that the augments, which are supposed to be improvements for Sabin, are unfortunately, sadly, a corruption as well. So yes, they give Sabin so many more abilities and advanced insight and allow him to be able to live his life much easier without all the limitations of his disabilities. But the problem is that humans and Grinions do not integrate. They don't graft, and that's the thing. Like, considering that the grafting of the augments and enhancements that they did for Sabin to help his life be better, because they actually do genuinely care about Sabin, which is a very unusual trait of the Grinions and Wari. They actually do care about him. But unfortunately, because of the augments and, them not supposed to be with a human, that made it so that way Sabin's body was slowly starting to shut down. And as each piece of Sabin's body would slowly shut down, more and more of it would have to be replaced with Grinion parts to work. And more and more interfaces would have to be made for Grinion to human and human to Grinion interfaces to keep Sabin's body functioning. And until the very last minute, it's all a miracle that Sabin even survived the first few minutes with the Grinions. So every single moment up until first contact with the Grinions, up until Sabin's final transformation, is all a miracle. This is not supposed to happen, and it's only by divine grace that Sabin was able to even survive. And there are times where Sabin does have psychosis, and he needs to be stuck inside Wari's realm until that psychosis passes. He still is completely himself. And despite the corruption trying to claim him, he still is himself. He still is Sabin. And but and the Grinster helps Sabin work with his issues and setbacks, and helps him work with the corruption that's trying to change him. So in the end, I'm thinking that Sabin, when he finally changes kind of full Grinion, but finally gets that kind of psychosis out of him because of that, he's going to look something like this, kind of like a really strong version of the Grinster, kind of a, the horns and the ears of Heckle, and kind of the thick body of the freaking Snickers. So pretty much Wari and the Grinster put their absolute best knowledge to make Sabin the best possible body for himself that they can make him. And considering that they actually wanted to keep Sabin alive is unheard of. And, one of the things that, would help with the psychosis is something that Heckle would always do when the Grinster was angry or having his moments of psychosis. Heckle would try to comfort the Grinster because the Grinster would protect her from the other Grinions picking on her. And, she's very loyal. So when Sabin was having his moments of psychosis, still, pre-Grinion complete transformation and, full Grinion transformation after that, she would help Sabin deal with that by giving him comfort and, reminding him that it's only temporary and then that the effects will subside. And, through Heckles and the Grinsters, um, help, the psychosis became less and less effective each time that it would try to claim Sabine, up until the point that Sabine could actually still function almost unimpeded, despite the psychosis and, moments of sadism that kind of try to claim him. But yeah, so despite the corruption, Sabine is still himself with the help of, you know, his close friends. And, you know, there's a lot of learning and wisdom that comes from Sabine's experiences with the Grinyans, and that allows him to learn more about himself, allows him to learn more about his fellow humans, and in turn he can help his fellow humans even more, because with his insight he's able to find and help people that most people can't, and that's a very special thing. And we all know that, that God can use that. And but yeah, it's just, like it is. Remember, guys, this is just a sci-fi kind of fantasy timeline I made, but it's still nice to have my characters have a higher purpose. So they all follow after God, but it's kind of fun to see how different universes of that would still function, and I think it's kind of fun, kind of cool. And yeah, so my human or Grinning character can kind of help bring people to the light, and with that supernatural insight and stuff they do that Sabine has now, he can help other people come to the light as well, and help free them from the darkness of the world. And yeah, so it's actually kind of a really fun growth journey of my character Sabine, despite having severe drawbacks and setbacks. But overall, growth and strength and wisdom are achieved through that, and with the help of the Grinster and Heckle and Snickers and the few friends that Sabine makes. But yeah, so I just think it's kind of a fun little alternate storyline. Because timeline 1 is the Astral Wolf, timeline 2 is the Astral Goat, timeline 3 is the Astralic Human with what's her name, Drugar, timeline 4 is Plamuk, timeline 5 is the Kivuakians, and Plamuk is my book that I'm writing, thrown into the Maw of Trials. Timeline 6 is the Grinyan timeline. And I think my favorite one is probably timeline 6, because of just like how vast it can be and how much can be done in that timeline. All the other ones are a lot more, except timeline 1, are a lot, more linear. But timeline 6, there's so much that can be done because of the capabilities of the Grinyans and Sabine and their growth and actually forming a relationship with some of them. So it's just kind of fun, Fleetfoot, Heckle, Snickers, the Grinster, Worry, Sabine's little fluffy cuddle buddy, all of that. It's such a vast universe, and it's like, some really cool stuff that my character can do now. And that all can be used for good. And despite the Grinster being evil and wise, he starts to see that what Sabine's purpose is. And despite it not always agreeing with the Grinster, and in fact sometimes going against what Grinster wants, he still wants Sabine, to succeed and be effective. So he puts aside his own wants a lot of the time, and is there for Sabine whenever Sabine needs it. Because really, the Grinster's not really doing too much of else. Just kind of sitting there in the other realm, just kind of, thinking and talking with the other Grinions. So Sabin actually gives him something to look after, something to look forward to. And therefore that actually allows the Grinster to gain, stimulation and motivation and growth, and to not just stagnate and rot there. So the Grinster genuinely cares about the well-being of Sabin because of their special close and very special bond. So you guys can start to see why they are always together. And in fact, there's a lot of times where the Grinster will use his like thick tail, this huge tail. He will like kind of snuggle around Sabin and just completely put him inside this like cocoon of fur and warmth, so that way Sabin can sleep peacefully without any of the other Grinions trying to get at him. So they actually do have kind of a very special bond, man and beast, and despite, them being of two completely different lifestyles, they form together to form something very, very special. And sometimes the greatest of friendships are born out of adversity and difference. And that's kind of the special thing between the Grinster and Sabin. Anyway, this video is going to be almost 50 minutes by now. It's 46 minutes already, so I just, like it is, I just wanted to kind of brainstorm with you guys an idea about this, and, just tell me what you guys think. Like it is, I still need, to get more artwork of my Grinion, commission, but I have to save money for right now. But I can tell you guys new ideas and stuff that's coming into my head, and put out the videos for you guys, so that way you guys can see it as well. But anyway, I do have to get going, guys. I need to get some sleep before work. I need to put in my eye drops. But I look forward to seeing what you guys have to say about this cool video, and I look forward to you guys enjoying what I have to say. But anyway, I do hope that you guys really enjoy this video, and it's always been a absolute pleasure being able to make this content for you guys, and even for myself too. But anyway, this has been Sabin Dimitrov, aka Adins for the Astrowolf, and it has been an absolute pleasure having you guys here for this video. Always remember to like, share, and subscribe my channel and to my videos. And always remember, stay awesome and God bless.